Any bird's nest this morning in this one? Nope. Righto guys, let's see if we can pick this up without breaking anything. Sorry about the dirty windscreen, but yeah, we've been a bit busy. I'll get them washed one day. Right, the forks must be sitting on something right there. Well, one other option. We'll just have to go in from the back. Got them. Righto guys, so we put in a bit of a big effort last night. What did we do yesterday? It's only a 3.5 hectare paddock. We started at 4 in the afternoon. It was soaking wet in the morning. 2 passes with the Maxi 2 and 4 with the Dutch Arrows, and that is the result. So today we're going to get her sown out in grass. I've got to make a start. It's late. It's quite late for me. Not quite as late as last year, but I think last year was the 18th of October that I had everything sown. Go back and look at that, I did everything in one day, all the sowing. That's not going to happen this year. We're getting sort of 1, 2, 3 day windows of fine weather, and then it rains again. Not as wet as last year. Rainfall figures aren't far off, but we're getting the breaks in between. But yeah, we're getting desperate to get some seed in the ground, so we're just going to make it happen. Right, we'll get that one out of the shed. So much easier to check for bird's nests when you can just see all the hot stuff right there. Now, I'm not certain if she was struggling for power a bit last night, or whether it was just me getting very used to the power. But I thought we might just check this. And while I'm doing that, I've just realised that the coolant level is sitting a bit low, which is scary. But anyway, air filter. Probably a bloody bird's nest in there or something. No. Now, you can clean this one. Don't ever clean that one. If you're worried about that one, you just replace it. It's got a wee bit of stuff on it, but nothing too serious. Yeah, maybe. That's actually quite bad. Well, we're going to have to keep an eye on that, guys, because she took about 1 litre. So here's a way to feed some calves. Brake pressure. Why do you keep doing that? There we go. All gone. Stay on that one. She's got new oil and it's not milky. So when I say new oil, it's done 25 odd hours. Sorry, what am I saying? Crikey, I must have gone over. It's done about 40 hours. I was about 80 hours over on this actually, which is a bit nasty, but I think the previous one was about 30 hours, so it's not too bad. Yeah, that's the big concern. Has she done a head gasket? Well, 1 litre of coolant, you don't want to jump to conclusions. And also, it doesn't have milky oil, which it most likely would if it had done a head gasket. And I don't really run it hard enough for it to be doing that stuff, but you never know. It's not a John Deere, but knock on wood, eh? Alright guys, prep work to do. Here's how this one goes. Should be tricky. And we're off. Gently. Righto guys, calibration time. Now yes, I know everything needs a wash. We will get there, okay? We'll get there. The grass growing up the back of the cab is kind of embarrassing. But yeah, so this paddock is about roughly 3.5 hectares. So we've got 4 hectares worth of seed there. We'll see how we go. If it looks like we're a bit tight, I'll just chuck another bag in. I'm not stressed. However, the sowing rate's 26. We actually want 24. So there's an extra 8 kilos of seed there. Now, from my experience so far with this drill, this is a little bit of a guess, whether it's my scales, my good old mechanical scales, that is just carborundum, which goes on the bottom of a boat to stop the gel cap wearing out. I know, I shouldn't have mixed it up in there, but I did. Where was I going with that? Can't remember. Yes, that's right. So whether it's the scales or whether it's the drill itself, it always seems to sow just a little bit heavy. So to get what I think is 24 kgs to the hectare, we need to do the settings to about 22.5, and I think at that rate we'll be pretty close to bang on. If not, 22.5 kgs to the hectare is not the end of the world, so I'm happy enough if it is that. But I think, yeah, I've never had it go light anyway, let's put it that way. So with this drill, what we do is we put seed in the first 3 seeders, enough to make sure that we keep them covered but not flow into the 4th. We hit a button on that panel which makes it do 10 revolutions of those rotors, and then we weigh the seed. Just before we do that, we've got to actually do one more thing first, which is we'll put the seed in, then we're going to run it until it's done about half a revolution or a revolution, just to do what we call prime the seeders. These ones shouldn't be too bad, but you've got to get the seed round the first wee bit, otherwise you'll have less seed there than you think. Sorry, you'll be putting out more seed than you've weighed, and if you tell it the seed weighs less than it does, which is what you'll be telling it, it'll make it so heavier when we do this little calibration, which is right, I won't show you my pin, right there. So you take the sowing rate multiplied by that number divided by the weight of seed collected. I should have in grams there. Hang on, I'll rectify that. There we go, so that's us. Now the possibility with this, I don't know, I haven't bothered to work it out, is that we could be doing the calibration for a 9-footer and it's a 10-footer. Because the guy did tell me to use the 9-foot one, but it's a 10-foot drill, so I don't know. But anyway, that's the number we use. Now just to prove we can do it, I suppose these bags will make a dick of me now, will they? Look at that. How satisfying. Now just the first 3 seeders. Don't do any more than that, Ben. Bugger. It's alright. Put a little bit in the 4th. Right. So what we're doing here, you won't be able to see. Menu, set seeding value, run seeder by 10. Just dump a bit on the ground. There we go. Hurry up and then go, yeah, what? There we go. And then we have a sample, well, sample, is that the right word? I don't know, of seed. Scales are zeroed. And we have bang on 400 grams. And we still have seed in all 3 seeders. So I'll show you why I get concerned about that in here. So, as the seed, you've got a heap here. As you have too much here, it goes down into that next seeder. Basically nothing came out of that, maybe a gram or 2, so I'm not worried. But yeah, if that hole gets low, then it won't read accurately there. But that was plenty enough. Now, we are going to run that one more time, just to be sure. Ready, set, go. And we have, give or take, 400 grams. I'm going to call that 415. But actually, we'll just check something here. If I dump that back in there, yeah, marginally over. We'll say 410. The thing with seed is you're almost never better to be over. You're always better, if anything, to be marginally under. So we'll call it 410 instead of 400, because the heavier we tell it the seed is, so it bases the amount of seed it's sowing per revolution. So by doing the calculation, putting the number in, we're telling it what the seed weighs, and from there it is telling it how many grams of seed per revolution. So the heavier we tell it the seed is, the more seed it thinks it's putting on per revolution. So if you say it's lighter, it puts more on, it does more revolutions. If you say it's heavier, it does less revolutions. We're talking about minute amounts here, but yeah, definitely want to be a little bit under rather than a little bit over. And seed ain't cheap either. Right, so we have a number that means nothing to us, but that's what we need to do, equals that, divided by 410, so our setting is 5. So then we come here, and we go menu, set seeding value, adjust seeding rate, and we go 5. Then we press set, and then we press escape. Seeding rate 5. Now if you put it on the number and then you don't press set, a year and a half ago when I was doing a mate's young grass, I did that, and my setting always seems to be way lower than his. His seed seems to be quite, how do I work that? What ways his go? So his seed's quite light for some reason, and also he's sowing at a slightly higher sowing rate. So I put in the higher number to allow for that, but I never pressed set. And then we went away and it went back to my number. So my number was like 4.3 or something, and his was 6 point something. So I sowed half the paddock. We've been wary, we're like, we're not using enough seed here. Decided, no, bugger it, we haven't used anywhere near enough. So we redid everything come out as it should be, remembered the number, went to check it, and I went, ah, crap. It had saved my number, not his. So then I had to go, I think we worked it out, it was about 17 kgs, and we needed to put another 8 or 9 on, and that was as low as the drill would go on grass. So we got lucky, so I resowed the other half, the first half, and then remembered with the 8 kgs, and then remembered to stop and set it back to the higher seed rate, and then finish the paddock. And we finished not far off bang on, but yeah, easy mistake to make. Righto guys, a couple of things to go over. I'm getting old, I tell you. One, the covering harrows for the first round, so that's these things we drag behind us. Seed comes out the bottom, and then it goes through them and it just sort of mixes it with the dirt. Not very deep, leaves quite a nice finish. They have to go to the side so that they leave that much of the roller, so I can see where I've been. Not for the first round though, because I always forget to go back and cover that half first round that doesn't yet. We used to drop them off, do the first round, pick them up, and there'd be half a roller with that never got covered. It didn't really matter a lot, but it always struck a bit ugly and thistles came up. So we'll just leave them there for now, do one round and then shift them over. The other thing, if we jump down under here, is to check this, because it has a habit, so there's a wee bit there, of blocking. Now we're good, a couple of bits in there, but they're that wide so it doesn't matter. So what happens is if dirt's a bit sticky, it sticks to the roller, it comes off, it must go back up in there. I often wondered if it came up through here, but it can't. So it must actually fling out off the roller into there, and then it gets stuck. And I had it happen in one paddock where it blocked like 4 or 5 runs worth. So that seed all funneled to the side, which meant we had a real heavy row there and no seed in that gap. And that was ugly. I had to re-sow that paddock. And we always start just back from a corner, so when we come around next time, when I get to here next time, I'll be in the same line, and then I can veer off around there and we don't have a miss. Right, now I've got to remember how this works. I think, yeah, that's right, the red light, if I just roll forward right now, it should start beeping at me. Yep, there we go. So that means it's off. The beep tells you that it's not seeding. When you do that, it is seeding and it doesn't beep at you. Now, mode. Right, so we're doing 100 hectares with this drill. Let's go to hectare meter. We'll zero that and we'll run that through for the year. There we go. So at the end of it, we'll know how many hectares we've done. There we go. Here is just a little bit scruffy. The reason for that is that's where we grew sweet corn this year. We got some for us, not a lot. It was a bit of a failure. Had a mishap happen, I won't go into details, but still quietly confident we can grow sweet corn in Southland. We're just going to make sure everything goes right. But yeah, so that is the finish that goes behind the roller. And then when the covering harrows go over it, ignore the tariffy stuff, it's just here. That's what it looks like. So if we come around here, you can just barely make it out under the tractor tyre. There's my line. Where are we? We're there. So I'm running literally one ring of overlap. That's not bad. That is not bad. I do not expect it to stay that good all day. But yeah, so on that first round, on the other side of the paddock we were leaning down this way and those harrows were hanging down a bit. So from the second round I've got to make sure where the harrows have been doing that I overlap a wee bit just to make sure we don't have a miss. And then after that it should be plain sailing, because these harrows get shifted over to here and then I've got that much of the roller, so about there where I've got my mark that I can see. Just got to be mindful that sometimes those harrows will be hanging down that way. Yeah, but I haven't had a big stuff up yet, apart from that one and the one at the neighbours. Oh well guys, we're steaming along quite nicely at 11.5 k's an hour, roughly, 12, 7, whatever. It can do 13. If I go up a gear, it's doing like 13.8, and then I think the seed shaft can't, well, the sensor can't pick up the speed or something, I don't know. I said 13 k's in the book, so I just don't go over 13 because I suspect it maxes out its seeding rate at 13. We're 5 rounds in now, 5 or 6, 5 I think. So yeah, this is the 6th round. So now we do something a little bit different in the corners. I have just been going around, but they sort of get tighter and tighter. So let's see if I can do this with one hand. Down a gear. Go across the line, hit the stop button, swing around. This one's a bit more than 90 degrees, so it's a bit trickier. And then come all the way back round. Ooh, bit of a bump there. Push the button, back online, and we're drilling again. Now, the reason I do that is because seed is bloody expensive. Most people just do the corners and then go and do some headland blows afterwards. But you always wind up with a notable amount more overlap doing that. And with this seed being like 300 bucks a bag, yeah, well over $10 a kilo, I just, yeah, the little bit of extra time it takes, I just find it, yeah, well worth doing. And it also helps to just smooth off the corners a wee bit too, because you're going around, you do sort of dig a wee bit. When you go back the other way, the chain arrows get to drag over everything. It's been rolled, so it's a bit more firm, and it just, yeah, seems to work better from my point of view. Now right here is the bit I was talking about, where the harrows hang over the edge of the roller. So it's not quite as accurate along here, but I'm just making sure we run plenty of overlap so that we're not on the wrong side of the ledger, hopefully. Right, we'll go check some seed. Shouldn't have to, we've done about 1.65 hectares I think, but who knows. Haven't checked it yet, moment of truth. No, we good. Yeah, no, we're good. Even that out a wee bit because we are constantly on the same angle here. So it's all drifting that way, slowly. It'll be good for a hectare or so. Well guys, there we go, we had the drone up for a bit of a look. Get some cool views with that. It's a wee bit windy out there, so it chewed through its battery pretty quick. You might have noticed me going around and around to the random spot in the middle of the paddock. You might have also noticed the birds buzzing around here. So those are oyster catchers. They're sort of a black and white bird with orange legs and a quite long orange beak. And they are native, and they are, don't think they're called endangered. What's the next one up? They are, you know, the populations are okay, but they're not amazingly healthy. So we definitely do not flatten their nests. Those ones have only got one egg, unfortunately. Normally they have 3. There are also plovers in this paddock, which are very similar, I think, to a lapwing in the UK. Spur-winged plover, horrible birds. They imported themselves here from Australia, and I have seen them eating the eggs out of the oyster catchers. They nest right beside them. You think they could get on better than that, but apparently not. So we don't give them the same treatment. I'll say no more than that. But yeah, right in front of me here. Miss it again. There we go. So yeah, we do go out of our way big time to look after them, and it is a pain in the ass because you wind up with a big bump in the middle of the paddock, but ultimately I like having them around. The numbers here have certainly grown over the years. Most paddocks have 1 or 2 nesting pairs. Yeah, they don't do any harm. They're aggressive little buggers, but I've never had one attack me, whereas the spur-winged plovers, I have had an instance in the past where one of them dive bombed the tractor. Not this tractor, one of our old ones, and it managed to kill itself in the process. But yeah, it actually full-on dived on the roof of the tractor, and it would have really hurt, because they're called spur-winged plovers for a reason. They've got a wee hook in the end of the wing, and they're nasty. Well guys, there's not much left to do now, just this little bit here, but we are bloody tight on seed. So this is the problem I've already got, always got with this drill. It's telling me we've done 4.1 hectares. I'll have to Google Earth it. The first time we did this paddock we thought it was 4.4, and that was going off ground driven information, which is what we're doing here. Every time I pull out on the corners, the drill stops recording area, so it's not that. The planter man, I'm pretty sure we were 3.2, or maybe it was 3.25 without the maize. I'll have to look it up and see. I've got a strange feeling it was only like 2.8 or 2.9 without the maize, or the corn. But either way, I think it was around 3.2 hectares. It's reading 4. We've gone through less seed. We should have no seed left now at 4 hectares. But remember, I calibrated it lower, and I reckon it's about bang on for that. As you can see, there's not much left in there, but there's enough to finish. There might... there's not half a bag there. There'll be more than a quarter of a bag. This is good, because now I don't have to check it again to finish that wee bit out there, wherever it is. Because I know there's enough. But yeah. It thinks it's done more area than it has. Now, could it be overlap? No. If I think this is, even if we said this is 3.5, so 0.5 on 3.5 is 1/7. I've got that right, haven't I? So that will be over 10% overlap. And I reckon I'm running, on average, probably 3 to 4%. What's that? On a 3 metre drill, that would be 10 centimetres, 4 inches. Yeah. I reckon we're running about that most of the time, and it's one thing I like to think I am reasonably good at, so it definitely reads more area than you're doing, so I do have to adjust that seed rate down a little bit. That's not going to be the end of the world. It's a little bit heavy, but it's probably going on, yeah, it probably is going on at 27 or 28 there. So the next paddock's a small paddock. We'll make sure it's emptied out and we'll make sure we know how much seed we've got in the drill. We'll try it, calibrate it to 20. I know the seed weight now, so I don't have to reweigh it, and we'll go from there. Of course, the other thing I should probably do is check my scales. I might do that. But no, it won't be the scales, because the scales aren't going to make the drill read more area than it's covering. So, yeah. At 3.75 would be within Kiwi, so I will have a Google Earth. We definitely did more of the paddock last time, like down the bottom. We've got all our crop buffers, but it doesn't add up, you know, 3.75 to 4.4, it doesn't add up to that difference. It might be 0.1 or 0.2. We did all that stuff down there last time, but to be fair, we didn't go much closer to the creek last time, because you sort of can't. It's all funny stuff down there, funny shapes, and it just wouldn't make sense to. So anyway, we're nearly finished. We'll get this done, and then we'll see you then. You wouldn't believe it, guys. The last little bit that I've got to turn around and do, you can barely even see. It would not be a square foot. I can't even find it. There it goes, right there. Might be a couple of square feet. Right, ready, set, on, off. That'll have it covered. And we're back on tillage, guys. Now, that might look a bit wet, and it is a bit wet, and I'm on the edge of pulling the pin, but it has been dry for the previous 6 hectares. It's just started raining the last 10 minutes, so we'll see what happens. Really wouldn't mind getting it done, but yeah, we can't control the weather. Anyway guys, cheers for watching, we'll catch you next time.